Right, let's continue on this end to bring you this conversation. SABC News Researcher Maswele Ralebona joins us now to expand on this. Maswele, a very good evening to you. We know that Floyd Shivambu is the EFF's first and only deputy president since its formation in 2013. He was known as an important figure in shaping the party's policy, while the popular EFF Student Command was also his brainchild. But of course, the EFF was not his first stint in politics. He was with the ANC. Who exactly is Floyd Shivambu?
Good evening, Mpho, and the viewers at home. You will remember that we are talking about someone who came from the student movements within the ANC. You mentioned there that this is the brainchild behind the EFF Student Command. It's not only that, even when he was still in the ANC, this is someone who also formed part, who was key in establishing the so-called PYA, Progressive Youth Alliance, within the universities, putting together the formation of ANC Youth League, the YCL, and the ANC Youth League in the universities before they formed the EFF. The movement, the PYA, is the very same movement that he used the EFF Student Command to break down, and that's why today you see EFF Student Command dominating in universities. So Floyd Shivambu, coming from Malamulele township in rural villages in Limpopo, and coming to attending his high school there, and coming to Wits where he obtained degrees, master's degrees, and becoming a political economist and many more, an intellectual on his own, and a very big political player in South African politics. I was listening to one of the analysts earlier who said he was the brain behind the EFF. So Floyd Shivambu, when you talk about Floyd Shivambu, you were talking about someone who really, without doubt, leaving a void behind when he leaves the EFF.
Yeah, the political analyst said Floyd Shivambu was the brains behind the EFF, and Julius Malema was the face. Given the kind of leadership under Malema, how he steered his party, was there ever going to be enough space for Shivambu to rise within the ranks of the EFF, given his track record and how he was placed within the EFF?
You will remember that when Floyd Shivambu left the ANC, it was not because of expulsion. The person who was expelled was Julius Malema. But Shivambu decided that because he became the spokesperson of the ANC Youth League under Julius Malema in 2008, and when Julius was expelled, he left with Julius. And then when they started the EFF, he was there and he stood behind Julius Malema. They built the EFF together with the likes of Dalimpofu and others who were there up to this day. So for the past many years, remember EFF celebrated 11 years this year. For the past many years, maybe 5 years or so now, there has been these talks from the streets as to people who are saying when Floyd speaks, he's very clear on what needs to happen in terms of economy, in terms of the direction of the country. You will remember in one of the parliamentary proceedings where even President Cyril Ramaphosa seemed to be really concentrating on what Floyd Shivambu was saying. And people were saying within the EFF, Floyd Shivambu is the leadership that they would like to see one day ascending to power. And with EFF having lost a little bit of ground, because they lost about 1.28% from 2019 when you compare the results of 2024. Some were saying since EFF has been removing political leaders of the provinces where they didn't do well in elections, maybe it's about time the likes of Julius Malema make space for Floyd Shivambu and see if Floyd Shivambu cannot be that leader who can build or grow the margins of the EFF. So under with Julius Malema there and Floyd Shivambu there, it's like Floyd had reached the ceiling in terms of leadership ambitions within the party, unless Julius Malema raises his hand, because he still commands big support within the party to say, I'm stepping aside, I want others to leave. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any space for growth for someone like Floyd Shivambu.
What do you think Shivambu brings to Umkhonto weSizwe party at this stage, having come out of the EFF to go into the MK party? Of course, given one analyst was actually saying this evening that the relationship that Shivambu has with former President Jacob Zuma will need to be very important if Shivambu is to rise above the ranks.
So when you look at the MK party, I don't think, or I don't know of any branches that they have built so far. I don't know of their headquarters. I don't know of their leadership structure at this moment. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a chance to go to a conference. All we see is media statements that are released now and then to say this group of people have been fired. They will be replaced by this group of people. Secretary this is removed, and then the next person will be going in. So when Shivambu goes into MK, despite the fact that he hasn't told us what position he's taking, we kind of know that he's entering into a party that at this point doesn't really have a direction. The party that doesn't really have a direction. We know the party is there. The party did well during the elections. Their first installment of elections, they did well. They've got 58 members of parliament, and in the NCOP and in the different legislatures around the country. But the party doesn't seem to have a strong structure, leadership, membership, branches, and many other things that makes them a political party in South Africa. So I think if ever Floyd is going to be used, or is taking something to that party, is to start from the beginning, like he did with EFF when they built the EFF from the ground and built those branches and formed the EFF Student Command and brought all sorts of things and get the party to have different representation, including women and all that. As we know, EFF has been pushing for 50% share between men and women in the party, of which in the MK right now we don't see that. In the MK right now, the only person that is popular, the only person that we know that command leadership and respect is one person, which is former President Jacob Zuma. If Shivambu goes to MK, he must be willing to stabilize that leadership that looks, the MK that looks shaky right now, because the only currency they have is the 58 seats in parliament, and he must be willing to work like he did with the EFF from ground to the top.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on the conversation there. SABC News Researcher Maswele Ralebona joining us for that conversation, expanding and giving us some depth on who Floyd Shivambu is. We do continue on the other side of this to bring you more news